What was the first business that you built that did over $100,000?
Great.
How
Cool.
long did it take? And then what was the first business you built that did over $1 million, and how long did that one take?
Good. Interesting. Okay, great question. So first of all, I'll tell you both the businesses. How long it took was fairly quick for normal standards, but too long for me at the time. And it's an interesting lesson, and I'll sort of roll this lesson up into both of these businesses. But Tony Robbins is the one that said, most of us overestimate what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in 3 years. And I'd love for you to think about that as I tell these stories. We are, as marketers, we are super susceptible, I think, to a marketing message that goes like this: click a button and make $1 million. And I've seen messages like that. I've seen speakers out there who have literally had an audience act like they're typing and go, come on, type, 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 type. Now look, you can make $1 million. I watched someone do that. And so I want you to be careful with that short-term viewpoint. At the same time, I want you to think in terms of how can I implement fast and balance both those off each other. But look at about 3 years and see what you can accomplish in 3 years. It's absolutely amazing with consistent and diligent, a consistent and diligent approach to branding and marketing. Now, my first business, when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006, I actually wrote a book on how to become a fighter pilot. That original book started out, I was writing a book on on dogfighting tactics for gamers, people who fought in aerial dogfights as a gamer. And as I was typing it, I realized I've got a lot of classified information up in my head, and I wasn't totally sure if I could separate all that. So I just decided not to risk it and go to jail for the rest of my life. Of course, nowadays, apparently, anyone can just delete, share classified information. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But back then, that was really important. Seriously, sideways political jab there, and
Yeah.
I am not party affiliated. If you care to know, and so I wrote that book, and then when I wrote the book, what started happening was my customers started asking me. And I started putting those questions in separate categories. And what I did was I created a series of CDs or recordings around the themes of those questions. So there were some themes on what their career looked like. I created some CDs. There were some themes on what medical requirements were. I created a CD on that. There were themes on how to do well in flight school. I created a CD on that. And I ended up taking those and putting them back into the front end marketing and saying, oh, by the way, if you're asking this, we've got this product. And if you're asking this, we've got this. And it all came together in what I called my Fighter Pilot Power Pack. I sold that for $97 online. I had a $37 membership club. Within about 2 years, that was a six-figure business online, and which blew me away. I actually, when I started that company, wanted to make enough money to buy a computer. That's what I told my wife, which is about $2,500 at the time. And next thing you know, I've got 300 members at there, bam, look at that. Dude, you've got it sitting right there.
Yeah.
So that was my first business, and it was, for me, it was like I got paid to learn. It was a beautiful thing, learning copywriting and marketing and Google AdWords and how to communicate and deliver a great product, how to underpromise and overdeliver, how to deal with customer support, and how to deal with people who had questions for you, and how to have an online funnel. And so that was the business that really put me on the map, and something I'm still proud of today. I sold that business several years ago, but it really was a really amazing way to learn. And then I started several other information marketing businesses from there. And then what happened was right about 2008, 2009, I started getting asked to come into businesses and help them do what I was already doing, which was implementing online marketing funnels. And that was when when I hit seven figures. So the numbers through the years, I'll give you the rough financials. I've gone public with these, so this isn't necessarily private. But my first year in business, these are all gross, by the way. 177,000. Second year was about 470. Third year was in the 800 range, and the fourth year was 1.2 million. Again, all gross, so that's not like take-home pay. And that is important to say. When most people say the numbers, they are saying gross numbers. There are business owners that I have worked with, by the way, who have $2 or $3 million businesses and nothing to show for that. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that was the case for me either. But what I'm saying is, those are gross numbers, and it's important as you look at your business to be able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So my seven-figure business, though, came from $10,000 transactions. And this is the important thing to remember as you're starting to grow and build your business. So I did something successfully, and then what I started to do is start consulting and helping people. And I would bring people into a room in groups of 5 and spend 2 days with them, teaching them and building out their online presence while we were in the group. It was just fascinating back then, kind of the Wild West in the internet back in 2009. When you could put a web page up. This is what we did in the training, by the way. I would bring people in. we would build their lead pages right there and do a video of them actually right there. And then we would sit down and we'd write their Google AdWords for them, and they would start getting leads on the afternoon of the first day. It was awesome. Hard to do that now,
yeah,
but we were doing that at $10,000 a person. And so the point, though, is the first business was a six-figure business on $100 transactions. The second business was a seven-figure business on $10,000 transactions. And it's important when you start to do the math on those things to understand that you can create a business that's a seven-figure or an eight-figure business on $50, $100, $200 transactions, but it's freaking way easier to build a business on $10,000 transactions because you only need 100 of those to eclipse the seven-figure mark. Where if you're selling a $10 book, shoot, you need, what is that, 1,000 $10 books to you need 10,000. Yeah,
no, 100,000.
Marine Corps math. I'm just saying
100,000 $10 books.
Yeah,
to reach $1 million. So,
by the way,
Ed, when you're looking at growing or building a business now, or you're working with any of your private clients, are you thinking scale in the back of your mind at all times? So if you're helping them, to get to that next level, the advice you give them, is it with the scale mentality, meaning that what they're going to do is going to be able to scale to that next level?
Yeah, it totally depends by the way on. I'm very where they want to go. Series of questions, I'll find out the objectives. So, for example, one of my favorite clients, a $40 million a company, and he just wants to keep doing it and keep helping people, keep growing the business until the day he's gone. I have other folks who literally have a 2-year window until they want to exit out of the company and create a seven-figure, maybe $5 or $10 million exit out of a company. I have some people that literally all they want to do is do events and impact people's lives. And so when it comes to objectives, and this is important for you as a business owner, it'll start to make sense when I say this as to where all of your thoughts have been, because you never really had categories for them. I always ask my clients 3 questions to start out with. I'm like, tell me your goals in a 1-year to 3-year increment for income, impact, and lifestyle. And those 3 are really important. A lot of times, let's just say this, all the time we have an income goal. Sometimes we don't always have an impact goal. Impact is what you want to create in the world, what kind of change you want to see. Yeah. Like you've heard Mike Koenig talk about his goal of creating a million millionaires or a million million-dollar entrepreneurs. And then and think and pray every single week. That's almost a non-negotiable for me. And so when you're thinking through what a business owner wants to do, it's always those things: income, impact, lifestyle. And then from those, you can help them start to develop a plan around that. Again, some people want to shoot the moon and create a $200 million company. Some people would be happy with $500,000, but they only work maybe 2.5 days a week and create autonomy. So that's really up to you as the business owner as to getting clear on what you want. And that's for you to answer and not for the latest person on a webcast to tell you what you want either.
Excellent. So Ed, obviously you were very successful before you jumped in and helped Mike out while he was going through his cancer to keep his business running. How much has that impacted your life and your business, or how much has your business or life changed working alongside Mike? Has it enabled you to get your message to a larger audience? So what's the end result?
Well, okay, so gosh, and a lot of things, all good. So a really interesting thing happened, and we're talking about Mike Koenig's, by the way. If you're just joining us and you don't know who Mike is, we're talking about Mike Koenig's 10 times #1 best-selling author, creator of Traffic Instant Customer, really my partner in the work that we do. If you come to our webcast, you typically see us standing right next to each other on this very same set that I'm on right now. So Mike and I came together, two very, very similar but different people, and I'll explain what I mean by similar, and created something totally different out of the two, and I'll explain the magic behind that, I think, in a second. But if you've ever taken the Kolbe assessment, so Kolbe is an assessment of basically how you operate in a work environment. It's not like introvert, extrovert. It's more like fast start versus a sustainer versus where you are in fact finding. Mike and I have literally within 1 point identical scores on Kolbe. We're very high quick start, very entrepreneurial, very innovative, not all that great with long-term follow-through. So like if you gave Mike and I a job to sit down and like call 10 people every single day at 9 o'clock in the morning, by the third day we would both be ready to like jump off of the top of the building. Whereas there's other people that would do that every single day and find value and love the fact that it feels new to them. Everyone's different, right? And so what happened is we came together, two very entrepreneurial, innovative people without a lot of follow through, and together we actually created a business environment where we have a long-term view and a lot of follow through, but it was through us recognizing this is what we need and the discipline to follow through with it. And so one of the things that I really love about what we've been able to create together is something that has great value, I think, long term outside of the software that Mike used to have. The second thing is obviously Mike gave me a great platform. So he invited me to events, allowed me to speak, allowed me an access level to the people who are following him that required a lot of trust. And so most people who do seminars would not have done that, just so you know. Most people wouldn't have just brought somebody on board and allowed them as much time on stage as he has with me. It required a great deal of trust. That I wasn't going to just take everybody into like, see you later, just like leave with a following, which really could have happened. And so it takes a lot of trust, which should tell you a lot about Mike's personality. A lot of you know Mike publicly, but not privately. He's not a person that's like, this is mine, I have to keep it. Most business owners are like that, where they have their little rice bowl. He's not like that. He's a very giving person, very generous person, very open, and not all that concerned with like grabbing a hold and keeping. He's got a really big view of prosperity and abundance, which spreads. So if you've ever done, like, for example, our small group trainings here in the studio, or if you come to our live events, you come to our mastermind groups, John, like you've done coaching with us, he's got a big picture and a big heart, and that spreads out to other people. And there's a reason why people come to events over and over and over and over and over again, because they see that, but then they see that the content's new, and that because of our innovation, our mindset, we're always learning the latest things, like what we're doing now on Facebook Live, or using Google YouTube Live, or using, for example, a Webinar Jam or EverWebinar, which we're using really successfully right now to broadcast our message. So we're always looking at the new things with the eye for a long-term relationship with our customer, which is huge. And this is the last thing I'll say, which is a fundamental shift in the way we're doing business now, as opposed to a lot of the other folks in the industry. Nothing wrong with what they're doing, by the way. It's just a different approach. We made a conscious decision some time ago that most marketers, they go really thin. So they'll try to market to as many people as possible, but thin. In other words, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's like books or podcasts or maybe an event, but without a lot of access. And we made a very, very conscious decision some time ago that we were going to go very deep. So we were going to be narrow. We weren't going to market to as many people. We were going to go very deep. In other words, we wanted our customers to be people that we knew, we recognized, we could look in the eye, we knew their name, we knew their business, we knew about their frustrations, their struggles, their problems, but also their successes. And so, for example, if you've been watching John or anyone, our most recent promotion, one of the things that we added into this promotion, which nobody's doing, when people invest in our latest product, they actually get to come here to the studio and spend time with Mike and I in a small group, 15-person environment where we work with them. That's not heard of at the level at which we're operating in. And I'm using this as an example to show you a fundamental shift in the marketplace, as well as a shift in the way that we're doing things, which is we consciously said, you know what? We'd rather work with a handful, maybe 400 to 500 people, and really know them deeply and be able to look them in the eye and help them with their business than market to tens of thousands of people that we didn't know. Again, nothing wrong with the other approach. It's just that we decided to do that, and that came directly from Mike. It was his idea.
Yeah. So, and getting back to the consulting, coaching and consulting business, which is the theme of the show.
Yes.
I'm just trying to help our audience out here. So what would you advise people that are doing coaching consulting or looking to get into coaching and consulting? Maybe 3 different things that can accelerate their authority or their exposure in the shortest amount of time to reach that 300 or 400 clientele that they can build a relationship with.
Yeah, great. That's great. So the first thing I'd say is whether or not you're getting paid to help people in their business, you are a consultant, okay? And so most people go, I'm not a consultant, I'm not an advisor, I'm not a coach. No, you are. If you sit down with people at lunch and they're like, so what are you doing in your business? And you're explaining what you're doing and you're helping them, you're doing it. And so most people go, I don't want to do that, but they realize that they actually are. You might as well just start getting paid for it. And a natural progression in a business owner's life, you see this in the biggest people in the world, like Warren Buffett. You see this even with really small folks, is the move from the doer or the marketer of something into a coach. And this is where the escalation: coach, consultant, advisor, right? So a coach is somebody you're getting paid to work with someone. A consultant is someone who gets paid to implement something for someone. And an advisor is someone who gets paid to actually give people advice that they go and implement, okay? So a natural progression up. An advisor is where, like, for example, Mike and I are at. John, you do this. An advisor is a person that gives people advice. You get paid way, 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 way more to actually just tell someone what to do, which is a beautiful place to be, by the way. And so that's a natural progression, and I'm just telling you that progression so that you'll embrace that and start getting paid what you're worth. This advisor spot is a 7-figure spot, by the way. So if you're interested in getting paid 7 figures and having a great lifestyle, this is the place to be. Now, having said that, how do you get there? And part of the way that you get there, I always start with what I call positioning. Positioning is nothing more than a place where people are coming to you and not the other way around. In other words, you don't want to be the kind of person that people are like, "What? Where are you? I've never heard of you before." You want people to be waiting in line to come to you, or like super excited to be on the phone with you. Okay, so positioning is the difference between somebody saying, "Yeah, I have to go to lunch with this guy," and "I get to go to lunch with this guy." Like, that's the difference, and it's the same person. It's just how they perceive you. Okay, so we use tools to get positioning. We use tools that are readily available to any of us, like, for example, a book. We recommend, if you're going to be a coach or consultant or advisor, that you have a book. It doesn't even matter so much what the book is about, but we typically recommend that you have a book, and hopefully a best-selling or number one best-selling book. Something like what John's doing here, like a Facebook Live, brilliant way to achieve positioning. So he's interviewing people like me or Joe Bovino. He's interviewing, like, Eddie Falco was on his show. It puts the interviewer at the level of the person that he's interviewing. Okay, it's a really smart thing to do. So interviews and podcasts are smart. Things like, for example, speaking, which I love to do. Speaking is the kind of thing that gives you positioning. And if you've never spoken before, you can do it in small networking groups. And even if you're nervous on stage, nobody will even know. And it's a great place to get clients. And so those are just some examples of some of the tools that we use. But that's a place to start. And it gives people a level of, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, which, by the way, you do. And then at that point, you can move into probably a client discussion or client relationship.
Excellent. Thanks.